So listen, it's not going good. So I was doing some research because I wanted to cover the whole charity scandal where Ethan Klein brought on a Palestinian, and then he said donate to Gaza, and he sent like a link to his own personal charity. So I was looking at some of these charities, and just the type of aid that's actually needed in Gaza is so dismal right now. It's so bleak to look at what is needed in Gaza, because there's enough aid in Gaza. It's just that Israel is preventing the aid from getting through. So this is a video that I was watching. Let's check this out.
A U.S.-backed group is set to take over aid distribution in Gaza. Here's what we know. The group is called the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. It is supported by Israel, and it is run by former U.S. military as well as humanitarian officials. The group is going to distribute food assistance in hubs in southern Gaza as well as in the center of Gaza, and hope to feed about 1 million Palestinians, they say, at the beginning. Then over time, it will expand the hubs that it has, including to the north of Gaza. Now, aid groups say that this approach will not work for them, that it violates humanitarian principles because it is going to essentially force people to move to the assistance, causing forcible displacement. There are a lot of questions swirling about how this group will operate as well as who is going to run it. Their director, Jake Wood, just resigned days before they say that they are going to start working. It is also unclear who is going to fund this group. The group has said that there is a EU country that has pledged $100 million, but it is unclear who that country is. So there are a lot of questions right now about how this is going to work. Will it work? And they say that they are just days away from beginning operation.
Okay, so they're days away from beginning the operation, and then we see what happens when they actually do begin the operation.
Thousands of Palestinians in southern Gaza have stormed and overrun an aid distribution hub of a controversial US-backed Israeli scheme that has been condemned by the United Nations and by local humanitarian groups. Witnesses described a scene of chaos near Rafah as crowds broke down fences and seized food parcels. Warning shots were fired by Israeli soldiers. Well, Israel doesn't allow international journalists, including the BBC, to report from inside Gaza, but we do rely on trusted local freelancers.
They don't allow international journalists to report inside Gaza. Okay. And then they want to be given the benefit of the doubt. Reporting inside of Gaza is anti-Semitic. So, just right off the bat, of course this is just in service of ethnically cleansing Gaza. There are already aid distribution centers set up, and aid comes to the people where they live. They don't have a center set up in the middle of nowhere and then say that everyone's going to have to relocate to try to get food and walk like the 5 miles that they need to get to that aid center and then walk back to their house every day. It's that, this is set up in order to ethnically cleanse all of the Palestinians in Gaza. They are shutting down aid distribution centers that already exist where they are in the cities where people actually live and the aid's coming to them. They're shutting down those centers, and instead they're getting a basically like paramilitary organization, this GHF that was just created, which is made out of like American mercenaries trying to just kill Palestinians if they get too rowdy. And we do see that Palestinians were killed in this scenario. So like everything about this is horrible.
Our correspondent Lucy Williamson reports from Jerusalem.
Hunger has its own rules, and food offers its own kind
How's
of
it going,
security.
everyone?
Gaza's new aid distribution hub near Rafah, overrun today, hours after opening. Its fences trampled, its food parcels seized.
And let's get one thing straight right off the bat. This is a good thing that this aid distribution center was overrun, because this aid distribution center. They're giving way too little aid coming out. And the idea that they're trying to draw people around and relocate people with aid, using aid as like an incentive to relocate and basically a tool of ethnic cleansing, is absolutely disgusting. And this plan should be rejected at every turn, at every single point of implementation. So even though like this ended up being like a very sad and violent day because Israeli soldiers were shooting Palestinians that were just trying to get food, and they killed Palestinians that were just trying to get food, even though this was supposed to be a sterile zone where Hamas didn't exist and it was just civilians, non-combatants. Like, this is a tool of ethnic cleansing, and it's such a disgusting thing to see Palestinians being like made to jump through all of these hoops just so they don't starve to death. So I love seeing I love seeing the people in Gaza breaking this down and just basically rejecting this phony aid distribution plan, which Israel is just doing to do the absolute bare minimum to say that no, we are allowing aid, we're just trying to make sure that Hamas doesn't get their hands on it. Yeah, it is a war crime.
Not even warning shots from Israeli troops nearby interrupt the
Also, the BBC, they say it's warning shots. There was like 40 people dead from this. Absolutely insane, the framing here. Look at this. They're reporting on this, they call it warning shots. During the distribution, guards initially subjected recipients to intense searches, but later loosened security. Two sources monitoring the distribution told The Intercept. Remember, this is supposed to be a sterile zone where Hamas doesn't exist, because the whole pretense for this is if we just give aid to Gazans, just in general, then Hamas is going to steal the aid, and I guess the Hamas soldiers are going to eat food, so we can't have that. So we need to have a sterile zone where Hamas doesn't exist, and just the civilians are going to be able to eat food. But then they're subjecting the civilians to intense searches and then also shooting at them. At that point, the crowd began to storm the distribution site, attempting to receive the aid. Gunfire rang out at the site, prompting crowds to flee. At least 3 people were killed, and 47 others were injured amid the gunfire and overcrowding conditions. According to reports citing Gaza officials, an additional 6 people were killed and 15 others were wounded by gunfire on Wednesday while attempting to receive aid at a site north of Rafah, according to officials. Elsewhere in the Strip, the Kizan Rashwan area, airstrikes killed 6 who were headed further south to receive aid, officials also said on Wednesday. So the BBC for saying they were just firing warning shots when literally 3 people were killed due to the gunfire and 47 others were injured. Also probably due to the gunfire. And when they're going to say that it's the overcrowding conditions, I mean, we'll see this video evidence, but yeah, when you start firing into a crowd of people, you're going to create a panic. It wasn't I'm really curious to see the Israeli news articles written about this to see how racist it is, but the overcrowding conditions was caused by shooting into the crowd. That's what caused the crowd surge and people to get injured. Like, you can see how actually organized it is when they take the aid out.
We want to eat. We are hungry. We've been humiliated with the communal
How's it going, avocado?
And water and everything. Look what they put here for us.
Inside the boxes, rice, pasta, jam, beans and tuna. Carefully unpacked, proudly displayed. After an 11-week Israeli aid blockade, these simple parcels are prizes. The new specially built hubs meant to secure Gaza's aid, Israel says, and stop it being stolen by Hamas. But the armed American guards securing the site melted away today. The US-backed foundation behind the plan said its staff fell back to allow Gazans to take the aid safely.
We've got it. We are patient and resilient people. People who want to live, hungry people, who must be satisfied. Glory to God.
Some in Gaza accuse Israel of using aid distribution to boost military control, and Hamas has warned people to stay away.
Did they say some in Gaza have accused Israel of doing that?
Some in Gaza accuse Israel of using
Dude, I'm accusing Israel of doing that. What the actual hell? This framing is so disgusting. Like, they're just going to casually mention, oh yeah, Israel doesn't allow any BBC journalists to enter the Gaza Strip. You're just going to like casually say that and then not really remark on it anymore? Oh, but we have some Gazan journalists that have been bravely recording, even though Israel targets journalists and tries to kill them, like especially the Palestinian ones.
aid distribution to boost military control, and Hamas has warned people to stay away. But the scenes here today have proven that hunger weighs heavier than fear. Lucy Williamson, BBC News, Jerusalem.
I mean, you're going to say that some people in Gaza have said that Israel's using starvation as a tactic for ethnic cleansing? That's literally what they did. They did an 11-week blockade on all aid going into the Gaza Strip, starving people to death, and then they released some aid into basically the part of Gaza that they want Palestinians to relocate to. And then, of course, Palestinians are going to go there. That is a tool of ethnic cleansing. So we can read a little bit more on this article, The Intercept. So gunfire rang out, an additional 6 people were killed and 15 others were wounded by gunfire on Wednesday. So this is now 9 people dead because of the IDF and this GHF Foundation shooting at them when they were just trying to get food. Hundreds injured. 6 people were killed in an airstrike when they were heading to receive the aid. So yeah, I don't want to hear any of this bullshit where it's like Israel's just trying to stop Hamas from getting the aid. That's where they're shooting at a hungry crowd that they explicitly said was a civilian-based crowd and was a sterile zone where Hamas couldn't get in. The whole point of this aid distribution is so Hamas doesn't get it. Like how tell me how exactly you're going to stop Hamas from getting aid. Even if people go in, they get the aid, they get the food. What's to stop Hamas from just like being like, hey, can I have some of that flour? Can I have some of those pancakes? Like, it's just a ridiculous premise on its face. Geneva-based Euromed Human Rights Monitor confirmed on Tuesday the death of 1 individual and said the 47 injured were wounded by bullets fired by both the Israeli military and the US-based private security firms. Doesn't seem like it's due to overcrowding. The 47 injured were wounded by bullets, so they just started shooting into the crowd. Holy f***. The group said Israeli military soldiers had entered the site to fire on the crowd. Wow. I mean, it's just so f***ing dark, man. It's so, like, it's literally just shooting fish in a barrel. Starving people, and then when they go to your aid distribution center that you explicitly set up to give them food, you just basically strip search them to the point where no one's getting any food. If you spend like 5-10 minutes per person, what the hell do you expect? Of course they're going to rush the aid distribution site. And then you use that as an excuse to just start shooting them? Absolutely disgusting. Videos posted to social media showed thousands of people rushing toward the distribution site. The crowd scrambled away for safety along dirt, trenches, and down fences as gunfire rang out. Footage shows. So what do we got here? Breathtaking. The moment Israeli soldiers opened fire at starved people, mostly children and women, this evening in Rafah. Reports say that many were killed and wounded and many more went missing today. So, I mean, what the f***? In one video, a man dragging a box of aid behind him said he had walked more than 6 miles to the distribution site where he watched a young man killed in front of him. This is what happens when you try to replace the humanitarian system with a political agenda. Those thousands of Palestinians, starving and desperate, stormed the distribution center not because they're violent, not because that people are hungry, but because aid is being used as a weapon, not a lifeline. Exactly. No subtitles. I walked over 10 kilometers and they killed a young man in front of me. A Palestinian recounts receiving a small amount of aid from the American company in Rafah after walking a long distance under dire humanitarian conditions. Like, it's just absolutely ridiculous. Better than Hamas stealing it all. At least he is not paying for the aid. At least he's not paying for the aid, bro. His house and his entire job was blown up even before that. Gaza's been a concentration camp. Okay, so this article actually kind of sucks. They don't actually even say what the company is. Under the plan, which has the backing of US and Israeli governments, civilians would be concentrated into southern Gaza in so-called sterile zones controlled by the IDF. The new nonprofit, led by a former US Marine, would be the sole distributor of aid from a handful of locations. American contractors would provide security, including one group run by a former senior CIA officer. I mean, holy shit, where are all of the conspiracy theorists when you need them? You have a U.S. Marine leading a U.S.-backed nonprofit doing security for it, and then security is being run by a former CIA officer? Come on, where's Alex Jones? Where's Candace Owens? The humanitarian community worried the Israeli government would use the new aid plan as a weapon against Palestinians, who are currently facing mass starvation. Some aid experts liken the zones to a concentration camp or an internment camp, saying the plan would further displace Palestinians. Some Israeli officials said they hoped the plan would permanently expel Palestinians from Gaza. Well, at least they're not even trying to hide it anymore. What do we got here?
בעוד חצי שנה איך נראית רצועת עזה? מה קורה שם?
א', אין בחמאס נקודה כישות מתפקדת.
Wait, who is this? This is Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich. He vowed that the Gaza Strip would be destroyed within a few months and the Palestinian population would leave in great numbers to third countries, raising fears of ethnic cleansing. Bro! Oh my god, okay. I know Middle East Eye is like a really good organization at calling out the Islamophobia that's happening here, but raising fears of ethnic cleansing? I feel like people's fears should be raised by now. Like he's saying they want to do ethnic cleansing.
אין גוף שיודע לשלם משכורות, לנהל איזשהו משהו אחד, שתיים, כל האוכלוסייה מרוכזת מציר מורג ודרומה, במרחב סטרילי לחלוטין שאין בו חמאס, יש בו מענה הומניטרי, שאר הרצועה ריק. מה זה ריק? ייקח עוד זמן לפרז אותו.
They're kind of like the dog that caught the mail car, because they're saying that the sterile zones are going to have no Hamas. And that's why Palestinians should go to those sterile zones, because then they're going to be treated like humans. But they're not treating the Palestinians like humans. They're still treating them like cattle. Like, not even cattle, a scourge that they must eliminate from the land. And so you're kind of giving the game away when you're like, go to this place because Hamas doesn't exist there and we're going to treat you nicely. But then you're like, okay, but like, we're still going to kill all of you there, right? Like, we're still gonna shoot just wildly into the crowds of people that we have explicitly said Hamas doesn't exist as a part of. So when people, I mean, come on guys, when people are talking about this and they're like, okay, but Hamas, right? Hamas is still bad and we need to fight against Hamas. You can point them to this. You can point them to the West Bank, where it's okay, well, in sterile zones, they still treat Palestinians like cattle, and if they feel like they're too unruly, they just start shooting into the crowds of people there. Is that a way to treat people if you're not trying to ethnically cleanse them, if you're not trying to genocide them, if you don't see them as subhuman? They're doing mass ethnic cleansing in the West Bank. Is that any way to treat people that are civilians, that are explicitly not Hamas?
עוד יכול להיות שפה ושם יצוצו כמה מחבלים כמו זומבים עייפים, רעבים, צמאים.
Bro, what the f***? This guy's talking so fast.
שיקנאו וצה"ל יוציא אותם החוצה. חטופינו בעזרת השם חזרו. אני מאוד מקווה בהכנעה של חמאס, מאוד מהר. זה המהלך שאישרנו בעצם.
That was the move.
מתי אתה תכריז ניצחנו?
When will you declare that we are victorious? I think that within a few months it will be possible to declare our victory unequivocally.
ולא להגיד, אין
and say that there is no Hamas as a functioning entity
ישות מתפקדת, אין איום
and there is no threat posed from Gaza
ביום שאתה תכריז את זה,
to the citizens of Israel.
איך תראה
What will the image of victory look like?
תמונת הניצחון הזו, איך היא
אז
תראה?
אמרתי עוד פעם,
So I said again, Gaza will be completely destroyed. So he said, obviously, like, we don't have to point this out, but he says Gaza, not Hamas.
עזה חרבה לחלוטין, אגב, פשוט מכיוון שהיא
Simply because it is one big terror infrastructure. I mean, come on. He's like, at least pretend. At least pretend.
כולה תשתית טרור אחת גדולה מעל ומתחת,
Above and below the surface.
פשוט חרבה.
So simply completely destroy. Okay. Like, bro, even if there are tunnels all underneath Gaza, that's terror infrastructure to you? How fucking weak of a country are you if a few tunnels are gonna fuck you up? What the hell? You can't beat moles?
לחלוטין, אמרתי, אזרחיה
The civilians will be concentrated to the south.
מרוכזים
That's what we're witnessing right now, and they just opened fired on all of the civilians
מציר מורג
beyond the Morag access
ודרומה, במרחב הומניטרי
to a humanitarian zone without Hamas or terrorism.
שאין בו חמאס ואין בו טרור, ואגב, משם
And by the way, from there, they will start to leave in large numbers. Why would they start to leave in large numbers?
מדינות שלישיות.
To third countries. This will change the reality. So he's literally just describing ethnic cleansing. He's like, oh yeah, the civilians will be concentrated in the south. We're going to push all of the civilians to the south, but then also we're just going to push them out of the south. They're going to go to different countries. The history of the state for Israel for decades to come.
של מדינת ישראל, עשרות שנים קדימה, אנחנו חייבים
We must invest much more in this, especially politically, vis-a-vis the United States, and get those third countries. There's a good discourse with this moving forward with them, and it should be much, much more meaningful. But again, Hamas is neither a functioning military nor a civilian entity. So what is it? Our hostages have returned, God willing, to their homes. The IDF continue to cleanse, to turn over every stone and destroy infrastructure. The citizens of Gaza are concentrated in the south, completely desperate, and understand that there's no hope there. Yeah, he's just laying it out explicitly. They're going to, we saw that. It's a completely desolate place. There's no infrastructure, there's no buildings there, it's in the middle of the desert. They're just trying to relocate people into a horrible, desolate place, which is their only chance of not dying. Then they're just going to treat them like cattle until they actually leave. This is their plan for ethnic cleansing. They're looking for relocation and starting a new life elsewhere. It puts Israel in a different place and radiates over the entire area, including this place where we are sitting. The Afra settlement. Where are they sitting in the Afra? Where's the Afra settlement? Is that in the West Bank? Yeah, it's in the northern Israeli occupied West Bank. Okay. So literally just like colonists talking about how they're going to colonize while sitting in a place that they're actively colonizing. Okay. There was a better article I read about this. So this article actually kind of sucked. The Intercept, like, they just keep saying the new nonprofit led by a former U.S. Marine. Give me details. What is this? The new nonprofit led by a former U.S. Marine. They don't actually say what the... It plans to put a fledgling nonprofit. What is it? What's the nonprofit? Why don't you say that in the article? It's kind of fucking, like, infuriating. The Gaza humanitarian... Oh, here it is. In a statement to The Intercept, the Israeli military disputed field reports and downplayed any mention of violence. Of course it did. Saying its soldiers had fired warning shots in the area outside the compound. Well, that's also what the BBC said. Disgusting propaganda Zionists before gaining control of the site. The Gaza Humanitarian Aid Foundation did not immediately respond. Like, I love the idea. I love the premise that Israel should have any control of a site within Gaza at all. Why? You wouldn't need to fire warning shots if you just let humanitarian aid trucks into Gaza and had the humanitarian aid distribution that's already set up in Gaza distribute the aid. The only reason you created the problem, and then you kill people as part of the solution to the problem you created. But then they don't actually just call it out that it's ethnic cleansing. The Gaza Humanitarian Aid Foundation did not immediately respond to the Intercept's request for comment. The foundation told other outlets its armed security did not fire on the crowd, but fell back when the crowd ran toward the aid before returning to the site. Oren Marmorstein, spokesperson for Israel's foreign ministry, minimized Tuesday's chaos, claiming the foundation had delivered 8,000 packages of aid to Palestinians, posting images of cardboard boxes filled with flour, pasta, grain, and oil. Humanitarian aid to the people in Gaza, not to Hamas, he captioned. Not to Hamas, Jesus Christ. The pretext for this new aid distribution regime is the theory espoused by Israel and the American government that Hamas has been stealing aid to enrich itself. Yeah, there's no evidence of that at all. Neither Israel or the US has provided evidence to support such claims. Israel, however, has weaponized access to aid throughout the current war on Gaza, and the practice stretches back to at least the 1990s, but intensified in 2007 once Hamas was elected to control the Strip. Since Israel imposed its latest total blockade on Gaza on March 2nd, famine risk has spread across the region, with 1 in 5 Palestinians in Gaza facing starvation. More than 9,000 children have already been treated for acute malnutrition this year. Over the past week, 29 children and elderly people have suffered starvation-related deaths, Gaza officials said. Yeah, but just remember, according to Lonerbox, there's just no evidence that starvation happened at all. During the first week of Israel's latest offensive, Operation Gideon's Chariots, the fact they're calling just giving food to people Operation... Oh wait, no, this is their latest offensive. Operation Gideon's Chariots. So cringy. So cringy, like fascist spirituality, basically. More than 180,000 Palestinians have been displaced, the UN said. More than 600 Palestinians have also been killed in ongoing Israeli airstrikes. Just as this is a new assault launched, Netanyahu announced that the government would allow minimal or basic amount of aid into Gaza to avoid further international backlash. I mean, yeah, you can't simultaneously be like, oh, look at all of the aid we're doing, but then also say we're only allowing minimal or a basic amount of aid into Gaza just so that we don't get absolutely harangued on the global stage. After UN-led groups were able to deliver small amounts of aid to Palestinians, some World Food Program bakeries in southern Gaza reopened last week, only to close again after 3 days due to a shortage of flour. 13,000 workers in Gaza in the UN. So it was headed by a former U.S. Marine sniper, Jake Wood, who led aid missions to Haiti and other disaster sites around the world, and with his other organization, Team Rubicon. Wood resigned earlier this week before the new plan went into effect, saying the foundation would not be able to adhere to the humanitarian principles of humanity, neutrality, impartiality, and independence, which I will not abandon. Bro, so the one guy that actually had this aid organization set up is like, nah, this is fucked. We can't actually do this properly at all. So he quit. It's operating on a $100 million budget in funding. Pressed forward on Monday without Wood, loading up its aid hubs for distribution on Tuesday. Armed contractors with private security firms, Safe Reach Solutions based in Wyoming, and UG Solutions. Really love the inclusion of the name Solution in here. Really drawing parallels to Nazi Germany with these two big CIA-based security firms, these mercenary firms out of the US, being like, no, we got the solutions for you. Safe Reach Solutions, he's a former CIA officer who trained right-wing Contras in Nicaragua in the 1980s. Wow, this guy stands for everything that the US supports, eventually becoming station chief in Kabul before moving to the private sector, according to an NYT investigation. Mod called Tuesday's incident a punishment dressed as a charity and called on the Israeli government to allow the UN retake control of the aid distribution process. Yeah, of course it needs to be retaken by the US aid distribution process. So, deadly Israeli fire kills at least 10 Palestinians trying to reach aid distribution point in 2 days. Yeah. Thousands clambered over the fences. Yeah, this is just food being utilized as a weapon of war to do collective punishment. Okay, let's close some of these tabs here. What do we got? Comments turned off. The man wasn't proudly displaying the aid. His box broke and he had to carry it in his t-shirt and was complaining about having to risk his life for beans and biscuits. Bro, what? Did they actually say he proudly displayed the aid? Yeah, that's weird framing.
Here for us.
Inside the boxes, rice, pasta, jam, beans and tuna. Carefully unpacked, proudly displayed.
Yo, why the would you... Why would you unpack a box in the middle of the desert, bro? Holy shit. The BBC is actually trash. Doesn't sound very hungry. He can plant his bean crops. They always complain. Bro, just so much racism. 3 things that changed how I view this whole system. 1, I stopped chasing... Okay, who cares? The BBC hid this for 2 years. You are complicit, BBC. It's absolutely disgusting how you have reported this atrocity. I mean, honestly. The BBC has just sucked. They're like, they fire... I mean, holy shit. Even reporting on people shooting at Palestinians. The BBC's reporting at the IDF shooting at Palestinians just trying to get food. And they say, oh, they're firing warning shots. They don't say that 6 people died because of those shots and that 47 other people were injured due to bullets. What the It's so gross. It's so gross, man. Look at this. Statement by UNICEF Regional Director for the Middle East and North Africa, Edward Begbedir, on the killing of at least 45 children in the Gaza Strip. This was from this was like a week and a half ago. The reported killing of at least 45 children in the Gaza Strip in the last 2 days is yet another devastating reminder that children in Gaza are suffering first and foremost, having to starve day after day only to be victims of indiscriminate attacks. Where did these 45 kids die? 45 children dead, killed in 2 days. This was from airstrikes. 950 children were killed in Israeli airstrikes across the Gaza Strip in just the past 2 months. And he stressed that the daily suffering and killing of children must end immediately. So, a week ago, you had 45 children bombed to death in 2 days in Gaza. And not a mention of it. Doesn't make it on the news. But then 2 people that support Israel were gunned down in DC, and basically that justifies the deaths of all of these children. U.S.-Israel scheme dispenses Gaza aid as the UN says 180,000 displaced in 10 days. The UN slams GHF plan as distraction amid global condemnation as death toll in enclave surpasses 54,000. So this is the official death toll. And yeah, it is just a distraction. And it looks like the plan is working. And they have displaced 180,000 people, according to Al Jazeera. So, just, yeah, nothing good about this at all. Another video. This was the BBC. And just completely insane. Let's see if this article actually talks about the IDF shooting people. So, Jake Wood, Israel, they did a total blockade. They're actually not going to say that they shot people. The UN said the videos from Rafah were heartbreaking and that it had detailed a plan ready to get enough aid to the desperate population of 2.1 million. Israel had said an alternative. They're actually not going to say that they did any kind of shooting, huh? Tuesday afternoon, in one clip. Oh, this is it. So here you go. In one clip, some people are seen running and ducking as what appear to be gunshots ring out. Wow, I think there's just like a lot of flies in Gaza. Maybe they were just trying to avoid mosquitoes or something. It appears to be gunshots. You can hear them in the background, but who knows? Maybe they're just popping champagne bottles. Witnesses describe a scene of chaos as people seized food parcels and other aid. They also said Israeli troops stationed nearby had opened fire. Oh, there you go. The situation was extremely difficult. They only allowed 50 people to cross at a time, one man told BBC Arabic's Middle East daily radio program. In the end, chaos broke out. People climbed over the gates, attacked others, and took all the aid. It was a humiliating experience, he added. A woman said people are exhausted, willing to do anything, even risk their lives, just to find food and feed their children. The IDF said its troops had fired warning shots in the area outside the compound. So you can get a statement from the IDF, but you can't actually get like a death toll or the amount of people that were shot and update this article with it. But guys, consider signing up for memberships. It helps me out, helps my editors out. Only $1 a month, so it's really not a big deal. Your name can be green. That will be cool. And thanks for watching, everyone.